likes bastards.
Yeah.
So tell us about your accident that you had a couple years ago.
So it was 2012, out shooting at this little range for a while. Well, so there was this little chunk of steel out in front of me, and I loaded up around and I shot this chunk of steel. And I don't even remember really feeling anything. I felt this thud, you know, wasn't bad. And I'm like, what the heck? And I thought maybe I scoped myself, but I couldn't figure out how I scoped myself clean over here. And I looked down at my action thinking I blew it up, and that was intact. And then right about that time, it seemed like it was a long time, but it was very, very quickly. I glance out of the corner of my eye and I see a steady stream of blood the size of my thumb
Oh my God.
coming out of my head. I stand up, I walk over, and I set my gun down. I didn't even drop it. I set my gun down and I grab a rag, a dirty, nasty rag out of my bag,
gosh.
and stuck it on my head. And Darren and Dad were just packing up. And I says, Dad, I need to go. I said, I think I need to go to the hospital. And we get to the ER, and they take me in and they do a CAT scan, and they wheel me back out into this room. Dad was standing there. There was two surgeons, the ER doctor, there was several other people, and Dr. Cole was his name. I still remember him. He looks over at me. I was laying there. He goes, I think you've got something stuck in your head. Just very casual like that.
Gosh.
He says, it's severe enough that we have life flight coming to get you. We're going to life flight you to Provo.
Wow.
And so they wheel me back to my room.
And that was when I got the message at work.
Yeah.
Your brother's being life flighted, and I was panicked and
Yeah.
on my
Well,
way to the hospital.
everybody was. That's about when the call went out.
Yeah.
They wheeled me in, and Darren was kind of a ways behind us. And we told Darren that's where we're going, and he shows up with these big giant fountain drinks, and they had those chiller straws back then. They're the aluminum straws, and he was just so excited about that. He come walking and he goes, "Here, I brought you a drink, and figured you'd need a drink." And I swear the nurse came out of nowhere and just about slapped it out of his hand. And she's, no, 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 no. He says, he can't have anything. He's going to be in surgery. And Darren's like, what?
Well,
And that's when Darren and Dad gave me a blessing. And in that blessing, he specifically said that there was concourses of angels that saved my life.
concourses. Wow.
Concourses of angels. That was a really pretty big turning point in my life, that maybe I wasn't so bad. If these angels are willing to save me, then maybe there is something that I'm supposed to be doing here on this earth. I get to the ER, I get to Provo. The flight surgeon, the flight nurse, he's like, man, he says, this is really weird. He says, I don't think we've ever had a patient that I remember that was conscious during his flight. And he said, so I guess enjoy your flight. So we get to the hospital, we get to the Provo, and they wheel me out, and the nurse comes out, and her eyes were about that big, and she's like, I'm sitting up holding my own equipment, and she's like, this is our gunshot victim. And he's like, yep. He says, Mike, this is your nurse. And she's like, okay. And we were kind of joking around about it. They wheel me in, and they have the trauma team was all in the hall, because the call that came in was a gunshot wound to the head.
Yeah.
Most people are missing half their face. Yeah. They go wheeling me in, and she says, Mike, she says, here's your trauma team. And everyone was like looking at each other. And the scary part, the part why it was so life-threatening is because the jacket, the piece that came back and hit me, it hit me hard enough that it fractured my skull, but it didn't penetrate the lining of my brain, which again, the surgeon, when we went in, he says that is beyond a miracle. He says, if that would have penetrated that lining, he says, you would have fought it for the rest of your life. The rest of your life. He said, do you have any questions for me? And I says, yeah, I says, if there's anything in there, can I have it? And he looks down at me like this and he says, man, you are sick. Good night. And I still keep it with me.
Oh, you put it on the keychain. Wow. Oh my
It
gosh.
reminds me of
So
how
good.
fragile
Camera.
life is. What had happened is the bullet had separated from the lead. The lead is actually still in the target. I have that at home too.
Oh wow.
And we figured as it swung, it was on a chain, as it swung, that carried enough kinetic energy to come back, and it hit me
Wow.
right here. I mean,
yeah.
that far away from my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the surgeon said. He says, really, he says, you really don't know how lucky you are. He was really worried that I was going to have eye drooping, and stuff like that. And I've had no problems, no headaches, no nothing.
Wow.
They ended up putting in a quarter size titanium plate, and
I think that's the title of your autobiography. Titanium.
Titanium. Yeah, that would be a good one.
Something like that, made of titanium or titanium life. I don't know. We'll come up with something creative.
But no, I do appreciate this. It's been fun.
Yes,
you made it a lot easier than I thought.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. It was so fun to hear your story.